What's up, world? It's your boy, MQ, signing in today. It's been a while. I know I shouldn't have kept you waiting, but I'm back now. Yeah, I went home for winter vacation, and that was cool or whatever, but now I'm back at school, and, I'm here right now to talk about the interview that B. Scott did with Don Richards of, Danity Kane. And like he was saying, like, is it of Danity Kane or formerly of Danity Kane? I don't know. Who does know? Like, no one knows, and apparently Dawn doesn't know either. And I don't know. It just really sucks because Danity Kane was so huge, and I love them. Like, I have been following Making the Band since the days of O Town, and every season I've watched and every season I've loved. But of all the groups, Danity Kane was definitely my favorite, and I just love the story. Making the Band 3 was an amazing season, and just those girls, like those five girls, there was something so magical about them, and that's why I love that the whole story behind the name Danity Kane. How five girls came together to form one woman who is Danity Kane, which represented many women, and it was such like it just fit so perfectly. Like Dawn, Shannon, Andrea, Aubrey, and Dee Woods, like they are just the dream girls, and like I just loved Danity Kane. I loved their storylines, and I love their music and them as individuals, and how each one of them brought something to the group, and I couldn't imagine him picking five better girls than those girls to be in Danity Kane. And over the years I just fell in love with them, from watching the show to hearing their music. I actually got the chance to see them when they did the Making the Band tour last year. I got to go to the opening night at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York, which was just amazing. I'll never forget. That day was the best and the worst. Like standing in line for like 7 hours, and it was packed in like a sardine can, and it was hot, and going inside, and like the show was delayed by like an hour and a half, and it just sucked. But then once that screen went opaque and you could see the silhouettes of them, and they just looked like dolls standing up there, and you heard the little ditty intro, like I was going crazy. I was like, oh my god, it's motherfucking Danity Kane. It was crazy. But when they performed, it was just like, look in my eyes covered in Maybelline. It was just amazing, and I absolutely loved it. um and then Making the Band, started up again, and just Danity Kane fans are just so awesome. If you would have been there and just saw the sea of fans, just I was really close to the front, so I would turn around and see just the auditorium was filled with people, just filled with people, and there's people up in the balconies. It was crazy. Danity Kane has some of the greatest fans in the world, and so the fact that the situation is the way that it is now is just kind of crazy to me. When the whole thing was playing out with the whole Diddy, like, oh, yeah, someone's getting kicked out of the group, whole kind of thing with the season finale, I was so like, oh, I don't believe it. It's just a stunt. Like, they just want more people to watch, and they want to get attention. But as the months went by, and you started to see, like, Aubrey and Dee Woods really not affiliating themselves with Danny Kane anymore, and you heard about the whole DK3 thing, it started to, and still is, becoming more and more evident that the reality of Danity Kane is there is no more Danity Kane, which really sucks. Like, I really wanted to believe that this would be the group to stand the test of time. Of all Making the Bands, this would be the one that would stick together, but history repeats itself, and it just didn't work. I feel like because they were not organically put together, that had an effect on them, and then also because of the show and because of Diddy, and there's just so many factors that went into reason why they are not together. And me being stupid and just being angry about the whole situation at first, I was kind of like, you know what, this is Aubrey's fault. Why is she out there doing this Complex magazine, which was raunchy. There was nothing classy about that. There was raunchy. It was raunchy. I mean, like, I've seen photos of celebrity women who have gone topless who were not as raunchy. Like, there's a classy way to do things, and that Complex magazine was just, it was not classy at all, and it wasn't what Aubrey should have been doing. And then in the interview, she's talking about how she likes to watch porn and likes to watch black guys having sex with white girls, and like that was just too much. Like, that is just too much. And then there was a picture of her laying down with a guy standing above her and his pants were down to his ankles, and she's like biting on his belt, and like that just wasn't a good look. I don't understand who she has become. Like from start, I always felt like Aubrey had a little bit of an ego. She always like obviously she has the personality that it takes to be a star, and she started to get a lot of attention, and I think it went to her head, and I'm not knocking her for that, because I mean I would do the same. I get a little bit of attention in my life, and it's gotten to my head, and but I don't know, it just sucks that it had to play out that way, and the girls just became so different. Because I feel like, even with the dynamic between Aubrey and Andrea, like they started out as best friends. I remember their little speech before Diddy made the band, and Andrea, and they were crying, and Andrea was like, I wouldn't pick anyone else to go through this experience with, and you really are my best friend. And Aubrey was like the same thing, and it was just beautiful. And then by the end, they weren't on speaking terms, and I just think that Aubrey became a totally different person, and it sucks. This whole situation of Danity Kane sucks, and I really just wish that they could just understand that they will never have success like they did with Danity Kane, and they need to understand what they're doing to us, the fans, and just put their pride aside and get back together. I think they should do a show remaking the band where they take those 5 girls and put them at like one of those team building camps, like how like you can go away to like the woods or something, and then you just have everything out. When they did the Salt and Pepper show, Salt and Pepper went to this whole retreat thing where they just let everything out and just became so much closer after it all. And I think that if Danity Kane did something like that, where it's just a show about, just like 6 episodes of them at this retreat where they're just letting everything out in the open, and they're just crying and loving and just everything and just remembering everything, just have everything out on the table, address everything. And I feel like, why wouldn't they be able to go back to that? Like, but also I know that there's certain problems with them feeling like they don't have the freedom that they need. Diddy is a very controlling person. Like, we see that. But I feel like if they fight like they did with Welcome to the Dollhouse, they could just be even greater and get exactly what they want. So, I don't know. It's really sad. I'm not even that excited for this new season of Making the Band, because Danity Kane won't be there. Dawn will be there, and Andrea will be there, and Andrea was always my favorite, but still, like, Danity Kane is 5 girls. It's not Dawn, and it's not Andrea, and it's not just Shannon, it's not just Aubrey, it's not just Steve Woods, it's all of them together as a whole, creating 5, and 5 as one, but I don't know, it just sucks. Part of me, like, there's a piece of me that still has hope that they'll come back together and make it work again, but, you never know. You never know. I just find it so funny that now, a week, like, we went months without hearing anything from any of them about anything, but now, like, several weeks before the premiere of the new season, they all want to do interviews, and they all want to reach out and talk about, oh yeah, this is how I feel about the situation, which just kind of gives me that glimmer of hope that they do still care about this whole Making the Band situation. They do still care about it. I'm sure that they do. I know they still care about Danity Kane, because they've all said it, but, I find it highly unlikely that the timing was just coincidental. And I'm hoping that for the season finale, you'll see the 5 girls at the table with Diddy again, and they'll do some big suspenseful thing like, oh, what's going to happen? Wishful thinking, but, I mean, you never know. Anything's possible. I never would have thought that they would break up, but, hey, that happened, so maybe the same will be for when they get back together. But I must say that I really enjoyed Dawn's honesty. She's been very honest and very real with the media lately, and I appreciate that. There was a while that I went on blaming her as well, because I was like, oh, well, she had to be the one to speak up to Diddy and say, this is the reality of Danity Kane, da-da-da-da-da, blah, 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 we don't trust each other, then that fucks up the business, which at first I felt like that was unnecessary, but truth hurts, but the truth does set you free, and I feel like she's the only one that's being 100% honest, so maybe it'll play out in her favor, and she will be as successful as she deserves to be. But I really hope that Danity Kane gets back together. I really do. And yeah.